Welcome back, everybody. It's Michael Fuller from Hotspot Central. I've got Robert Scott on the line. We're talking over Skype at the moment, so if there are any sort of technical blips, just please excuse us in advance. We're not all on NBN yet, unfortunately. Today we're just going to do a little short, brief update for the Port Macquarie project. So we call this the February update. Obviously, we've just come through the whole capital raising process. Thanks very much for that. We did a very good job, all of us. I think it was oversubscribed within 1 week. And so thanks again for getting involved. And let's get down to the business end. We've raised the money, and now it's over to Rob. And so Rob's going to just show us a little bit about what we're doing or the progress with the development approval. Rob, I'm going to hand it over to you. Welcome back. And yes, we're all very excited.
Thank you, Mike, and thanks for the opportunity to explain where we're up to. If we're just looking at this map on the screen, Council are just in their early phases of assessment. They've asked us for a little bit more information for this area across the top here. We've been a little bit cheeky in trying to get a few extra blocks up there. It is in a heavier vegetated area, and there's also some koala habitat consideration for us there, so we're just providing more information on that. The RFS are also assessing our perimeter road, so that's another area that's under consideration. So when I say we're a bit cheeky to get a few extra blocks up here, essentially the bulk of the development is outside of the vegetated area and sits in a paddock. So if we get a few extra blocks up the top, that'd be great. If we've got to take them off, then we take them off, and we're probably sitting at around 30, 38, 37 blocks instead of 40. So it's not a big deal.
Just when you say we're back to 37 and not 40.
Yep.
My understanding was when we looked at the original map, you were aiming for 44.
Yep.
So you had the one at the top of the hill, and you had
Yes.
those four next to 122.
Yes.
So you're saying that, how does it go from 44 to 40 to 37?
Yeah, it's all of this top section, and that top section to the northeast, or pretty much the area that's on the southern side of these 10 or 12 blocks here.
Yeah.
That's a koala habitat area.
Okay.
The rules on that are changing at the moment, so we've got to do a bit more assessment as to whether we need to do a koala plan of management. There's things like that. We've got to do a bit more work on the vegetation side of things. So it's just one of those things that as it evolves, and as we provide some more work that Council has asked for, we'll be in a position where we can say to ourselves, yes, we think we can get some blocks in there, or no, we can't. When we're initially drawing up the plan, it's always best to try and achieve more than what you're looking for,
Yeah.
and come back, rather than go in for the minimum amount that you're aiming for, and then be sometimes asked to come underneath that. So we're always sort of stretching the envelope.
Mm. Okay, so this is the question of just yield at this stage.
Yep.
Now, just from my own understanding, when we first started talking about this, and I did a little video for everybody at the expression of interest stage on that webpage,
Yep.
we spoke about that all the reports had been done, ecology, etc. Are you saying that it all been done, but not necessarily had said that there's no problems? Am I reading into that? I mean, this koala thing seems to be, I know it's always been there,
Yep.
but in my recollection was more about those little four blocks at the top. So in other words, next to 122, those original four there was sort
Yes.
of the issue. So where, if those four have gone, and you say 37,
Yep.
where are the missing three blocks?
Well, we've
And, and why is the koala, what's that habitat got to do with that?
Yeah, so we've got lot 122,
Mhm.
and if we just focus on that one for the moment, we've got our asset protection zones are quite big around that block because of the slope. So you can appreciate below the block, it's quite steep and there's vegetation. So that means the asset protection zone in compliance with the Rural Fire Service are quite large. When that happens, obviously we're eating into vegetation and potential koala habitat.
Okay.
So these things are always grey to begin with, and they're open to interpretation. Sometimes the council might say, "Yep, we've accepted the consultant's report. We'd like a little bit more work done in this area just to be sure. We'd like a little bit more comment as to if we did approve these extra blocks, where does that sit in the new legislation?"
Right.
So they're the sorts of things that we're just ironing out with those blocks at the moment.
So when you say where does it sit in the new legislation, what's that all about?
Okay, so there is new legislation coming in for the treatment of developing in and around koala areas or koala habitat or koala zoned areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because our application was lodged in November last year, we don't. Those rules don't apply to us yet because they're not enacted, they're not gazetted.
Okay.
However, we still want to make sure that if the new rules were in, how do we sit with that? And that's what we're sort of doing.
I see. So you're almost playing as though if those rules are applied retrospectively, which they wouldn't, you just want to make sure that on a very conservative basis, it all fits still.
Yes, and I don't think that council would look too favourable upon an application that might comply today, which might permit you to remove some vegetation, but in 3 months or 6 months' time with the new legislation in, that might not be permitted. So council want to have a foot in each camp, if you will.
Okay. So at this stage, if you can give me your temperature gauge, as in hot, you sweating, you worried, or green, not a problem at all. When I start thinking about the getting the valuation so that you can extract the equity and pay everybody back, are you green or red or in between?
Very, very green.
Okay, I'm always going to check every time we do these updates because some people don't really understand a lot of this stuff. Certainly, it's every time I get involved with these DA projects, there's always new stuff that crops up, and sometimes it can be to try and understand how it all pieces together and what the impact's going to be can be quite difficult for those that are seeing this for the first time. So we'll get the detail from you, but then also for those that just don't care about the detail, they just want to know what the impact is. I'll always just double check with you.
Yeah. All right. Can I just, if I can just bring your attention back to the lot 122, and I'll just show you what the difference is or could be. Lot 123 is a very big vegetated lot, but it has its building envelope right next to lot 122. You can see in this area here where the cursor is. So the worst case scenario is we lose lot 122 because of the veg. We're still going to retain this 123, but it could be attached to 214, let's say. But essentially, we would be losing 2 building envelopes. So that would be the worst case scenario at the end of the day, is that we lose those.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
Yeah. And it'd be nice to have those blocks, but if we had to amend our application because of the koala, because of the APZ is clearing a bit more vegetative area, then it's not a big deal.
Right. Okay. Good. All right, Rob. So, is there anything else you feel that we need to just flag up or discuss before we close off the short update?
Look, not really. It's with sites like this, like I say, it's always vegetation is the one that takes the time. But we've put a very thorough DA together for the rest of it, the rest of the blocks. We've gone a long way down the engineering side for drainage and roads and all that sort of stuff. So it's a fairly thorough application. We're just massaging this top section.
Right, excellent. Well, that's encouraging. So keep up the good work, Rob. We want to hear lots of good news during the next update. For everybody else that's watching, the next little video that Rob and I will do will be to introduce you to the Badina project. Now that is super exciting. So if you've got any spare money left, just don't pay any pocket money out for the next few weeks to the kids. Make sure that inheritance that you're expecting is accelerated and brought forward. I don't mean do anything bad. Just remain hopeful, because you want some money aside for what's coming. I think this Badina project is going to be very exciting, but we'll talk about that next. Rob, thanks very much, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Mike.